Hey guys.
So,
Sorry.
my bad.
She cut me off.
Go ahead.
No, just said I.
So, we're doing chapter 3 of the knowledge building classroom.
Oh, and it's like basically focusing on the deep, process-oriented and interactive learning.
Sorry if it's a little loud. We came outside just because I had, like better lighting. It's a little cold and by the road, so.
So hopefully you guys can hear us.
Right? Okay. Right.
Okay, so why is it important to support ELs? The instructional approaches that effectively support English learners' literacy development focus on cultivating knowledge, so it allows students to build strong oral and written language skills. Sorry, thanks, partner.
You're welcome.
So the three principles. Half of the chapter talked about the three principles for guided instructional learning, and the first one was go for depth of learning. The second one was focus on the learning process, and the third one was make learning interactive. To the first principle to go for depth of learning is the understanding required to answer or explain an assessment related item or a classroom activity. The level of understanding deepens, setting ELs up to comprehend, discuss, and compose academic language. So as we know, ELs, and even just any student can you're not gonna have the same level students in every class. They're all gonna be they can be like in the middle or they can be like very knowledgeable. So it's up to us to know and like prepare those students so they can have a more deep understanding and more like complex learning, learning, because what we're doing is like preparing them for the future. So you want them to think critically and not just, oh, is it sunny outside? Yes. That doesn't really give them much of a deep understanding, and that's what this is kind of talking about. So they start off with no knowledge, and then the general sense is more of like basic stuff that they already know. So you want to go down to the bottom and have them give them that rich understanding and meaning and the relationship to other words.
And you also, like, it's for them to go back to, like, not just for them then, not just for them, like, a week later in the future, like, when they're old adults, like, they're gonna go back to it. They're gonna remember, oh, I remember this from, I mean, they might not remember from when, but they'll remember it because they learned it as a kid. As we know, kids remember things a lot better than like us adults. They have a bigger, like their brain's like a sponge, is what I think how Yusuf explained it.
And I think it's too also for the depth of learning, it's like preparing them to be able to read more deep text. Because as we know, like once you get in high school, college, like we get all of these books with all these big words. So like if you can prepare them at a young age or when they're like already in elementary school and you're doing it the right way, it can be very beneficial and good for them. We lost our sticky note. Run, Hunter, run. And okay, so the chapter talked about Miss Parkin's class. So they talked about the principal, and then they went off to like how it looks in a classroom, and they focused on Miss Parkin's class. Um, this was more of a planning. So for her, it was less is more approach. Um, so we know that ELLs need to learn as much as possible, but we also have to keep in mind that we have to teach them for deep learning. Yeah, you can. I did it with Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, you're good. So okay, so you want them to learn as much as possible, right? But you also have to keep in mind that like, how do I put this? Like, you want them to do like teach them in a deep learning way, but a lot of times you can't just throw everything to them because that's going to be a lot. So that's why she says less is more. And her planning was basically like you want to target words that are high impact for students academic achievement. So you want to have like those multi-phase questions, kind of get them thinking and just getting their brain going. Number 2 was focus on the learning process. So it's a way in what knowledge develops. So teaching should have a very specific and clear end goal that you can use to determine mastery. It is about growth and not mastery. The way I saw this one was that as long as the student is learning, they might not like be in the same level as like other kids with a deeper understanding, but as long as they're kind of learning and moving up a little bit, that's all that matters. Because we all know that like as ELLs, it could be hard. So, um, I'm having.
And this is kind of like how Yusuf was teaching us. Was it yesterday, and when we were going over the TPA, like how we went. What was it? Introduction, planning, and then assessment or context for learning. There was like steps to it. These are steps to it. So the learning, the growth of it, and then you're gonna see what the next step to that is. Like it's all steps that everybody needs to take in order to become or to get to where they want to be.
Okay, so in Miss Parkin's class, they went over like a vocab word called the disguise word, and she basically tried to focus the kids to like not like just the memory, just not just you don't know them like just not focus on just the meaning of the word, but more of like a broad sense of the word, like vocab word, so you can be able to like understand the concept in the academic conversation, and also be able to use it across content areas. And I know that when was it? Like we talked about this in class, where like um, it was the one where they always mention how you can do like a context, like how everything can tie in together, but you can use it like in other subject areas.
Amanda's class. That's when we're talking about all the integrations.
There you go.
So you can integrate it pretty much.
And then the third one, make learning interactive. And I know we've talked about this one a lot in class, in every class it seems like, making learning interactive, because we know that learning should be interactive. It should be social. You shouldn't have students sitting around and just watching you teach up in front of the classroom, or here's a textbook and here's a worksheet and answer the questions. That's not how students learn. I know it can get boring, and some of the things that you can do to make learning interactive is text-based discussions, oral presentations, debates, games, and there's many other ideas.
There's also like field trips is a really big one because I feel like people don't really think like, oh, we can go on field trips, but you can because, we've all pretty much been to the Reach. We've all done the interactive things that they had. For Margarita's class, we all went somewhere else. Like I went to a dam and there was a lot of interactive things. I know Jenny went to a couple dams, I think. I mean, there could have been interactive things there that she had her daughter play with and like learn things about. Like you can go anywhere that is educational and there will be interactive things. So it doesn't always have to be at your school, in your classroom. It could be other places.
In Miss Parkin's classroom, she had her students, like whenever she was teaching the lesson, she would ask questions and she would have pick students to answer the questions. So that's how she was interactive. And they also did the think, pair, share, which is something that we know very well and have done and actually practice ourselves in the class. So there's just like many ways that you can make class interactive. And there's actually going to be a video in the next slide that shows some ways to make this one focuses on vocabulary, so like it kind of like shows you different ways that you can have students be interactive and social in the classroom but still learning.
So we're gonna play this YouTube video. We're gonna have 4 different sections that we're gonna clip and like go to and stuff and stop and then go to again. And it's all we really want you to focus because we're gonna tie it all into our PowerPoint. There's gonna be a question now that we want you to look at, question later, and maybe questions after. I mean, who knows? Be your special assignment, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But so we really want you to pay attention to it, okay? So the question for this one is,
Some of the questions to think about is, does her teaching reflect the three principles? And if not, what could she have done differently? And remember that the three principles were to, oh, sorry, go for depth of learning, and then focus on the learning process and making learning interactive.
right? You guys
Enjoy the video, guys. I'm having technical difficulties.
Okay, here it is, guys. Sorry. Okay, now we're gonna go to the next one. Okay, we'll start it right there.
Is this is now you guys are gonna watch the third part of the video.
Alright, and then this one is gonna be the last part of the video. Yes.
So I know we didn't show you guys like the instructions to the game, but basically where they're at, like where you see the cup, there's a definition of one of the words. So then they have to run, and they're gonna use their friends to help them figure out the word that matches a definition. So like you can see, they grabbed a definition from the cup. They work together, and then she runs and tries to find the matching word that defines it.
Okay, so that was that.
So what do you guys
Am
think
I gonna
about the
stay there?
video?
Okay.
Do you guys think that she did show she planned for higher thinking? Do you think she focused on students learning, and did she make it interactive? We decided to choose this video because I know a lot of times, and as we read, usually ELs struggle with vocabulary. So we thought that this was a perfect video to show how to use it with ELs, especially because it had many different ways to introduce vocabulary to students, and they had pictures. It was fun and interactive, but obviously this was for you guys to reflect on and like, what do you guys think?
Okay. So now we're gonna go through the second part of the chapter 3. So it was the knowledge learning cycle, and what can I say? Like, so we haven't really talked about it, but we've talked about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but we've never really said, oh, this is what the knowledge learning cycle is. These are the parts. Da 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 da. We've just kind of gone here and there with them. So we know what they are, but we didn't know we knew what it was. I don't know if I confused you. I did. Sorry, but it made sense to me. So there's 4 parts. Part 1 is developing academic content knowledge by studying big ideas. Part 2, developing academic vocabulary knowledge by studying a small set of vocabulary words deeply. Part 3, unlock language by developing word learning strategies. And part 4 is extend learning with language production projects. Okay. So part 1, it focuses a lot on the deep learning. And in that, text plays the biggest role for it. Because this one is more like writing and everything, right? So big ideas like books, reading, writing it, everything like that. Okay. And then it also matters for like engagement because it did talk about how it wasn't only for text, it was also engagement that played not as big of a role, but it also is in there. So part 2 is the small set of vocab terms, which in the video, I don't know if you guys noticed, but she gave them vocab words and they like did all these different types of things with them. Like she did the one where she had them say it and then give the definition. They played a game. Um, they did like a motion kind of thing, and they said the word and then the definition. I thought of that kind of like how in Amanda's class we had to come up with that song so that students could remember something. I see that as kind of that because they're putting the word with something so they can remember. Also kind of like how Carrie did it, like the whole edge and apple and up for AEIOU. So it's just like things that they can remember with that.
And then with the small set of vocab terms, it's like perfect because you don't want to give them like 10. I think if I remember correctly, when we took a class, they talked about how your brain, I think it was in Yusuf's class, he talked about like you can remember like a certain number of vocab words. Like if you give a student 10 words, they're not going to be able to remember those 10 words. So if you focus on just just a small amount and those specific ones are going to make actually a difference in their learning, it's more beneficial than giving them like 10. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh wait, the question. Oh. Okay, so also students learn the concept and new nuances about it. So what does that mean by that? So they learn the concepts and nuances about the word itself. So like the concept of the word, like fire. What is the concept of fire, guys? You get me? So this question is going to reflect back to the video, which is why I said make sure you pay attention. So I want you guys to think about this question. So if our goal is to increase EL's academic vocabulary knowledge, why study only a small set of words? Don't take Vanessa's words. I want you to use your own words and explain. You can put it in the Word document that you were given. You could add it to your chapter overview. But we want you to add why you think it's important for ELs to study only a small set of vocab words. Why not give them a big one? In your own words. Don't take it out of the book. Don't take it from, oh, this person said this. Want your own words. You can go based off the video. You can go based off of uses class. Anything you want, really. So part 3 is talking about like the tools and skills that you're going to be needing to use in the classroom and even like probably outside the classroom sometimes. They use the tools and skills to focus on word learning skills and unlocking like unfamiliar words that students don't know. So that could be really helpful just because, obviously some students may not know one of the words, some may already know it from like a previous class, they heard somebody say it, but it's going to be really beneficial for like in the future too when they're trying to like, oh, I don't know this word. Because I know now, like, as I was reading the chapter, I was like, wow, I don't know this word. And I had to, like, break it down. I had to use what I learned before to actually understand it. And then, like, that really helped me.
Okay, so what do you mean by help students focus on 4 things?
I'm not there yet.
Oh, sorry.
God, Vanessa.
I thought you were done.
Okay. Awkward. Okay, so in the chapter, I don't know if you guys read it yet, but in the chapter, there's 4 bullet points. And it helps students focus on these 4 things. I didn't want to write it because it was long, and I figured I could just say it. So the 4 things are: 1, they break the words into meaningful parts. 2, they use clues found in surrounding text. 3, they tune into the words around them. And 4, they make connections to their native language. So I don't know if you guys are getting like the flow already or not, but this is everything that we've already done in class. This is everything that we've already learned. Like we know, sometimes it's easier for them to know it in their own language in order to get it in a different language. Like were you gonna say something?
No,
Okay.
I saw something today at work that I was gonna talk
Oh,
about
go
it
for
that
it.
reminded me of it. So I was working with a student. Her first language is Spanish, and she was taking a test. So part of the test was vocabulary, and she had to find out the meaning of the word. And some of the questions were also involved also like what word can help you define what the word means. So basically, she had to go back and use her context clues. So that's what reminded me about like you use clues to found surrounding text, or we also had to break words apart because I know sometimes she struggles when it comes to reading. So what I have her do is just kind of like sound out the words if she doesn't know them, and then she's able to say the word out loud, but she doesn't know the meaning of the word. She knows how to say it, but she doesn't know the meaning. So what we did was, okay, what sentence on there can tell you what that word means? And that actually was very helpful for her from what I saw because she got, a lot of them right.
Beneficial. Okay, so part 4, this one is most neglected, is what the book said, but is the key to everything, pretty much. Okay, so you're wanting to take form. So what I mean by that is you're taking form of the capstones, you're offering students opportunities, you're consolidating them, you're extending the understanding of a concept with them that you guys have studied over, like, say, a week or so. Like, you're doing everything that you can to help them pretty much. And this could be done not only like in an oral form, but also a written form. Like Vanessa was saying, some people, or like how I said before, some people like English is not their native language. So you could help them by making something change or changing something to their native language so they could understand it more. You don't have to change everything, but like maybe they'll understand something a little better. And then you're doing this over extended time taps. So what I mean by that, what do I mean by that? Oh, I don't even know what I mean by that, guys. I don't know why I put that. But there is 3 bullet points that I wanted to point out for part 4 also. And they're that they anchor projects in the learning cycle's big idea. You encourage and support use of target vocabulary terms. and you provide a compelling reason to complete the project. So like communicating with an audience students really want to connect with, or addressing an aspect of the cycle's big idea that students really care about. So again, you're doing everything in your power to help students. Okay, and a little bit more information about that is, this is all different from daily oral language. I know that I'm pretty sure we've talked about it before in a different class, but it is different. Like language production projects three points, and um, yeah, and so also employing instructional tools will be helpful too, as you saw in part 1, I believe it was, or part 2. Okay, and I also wanted to add about that for all the parts is that at the end of, after it stopped talking about each section, it talked about how, okay, well, we're going to go more in depth in this chapter, or we're going to go more in depth in this chapter. So if you guys don't really, you're not understanding it completely, or you still have questions about it, it's going to go more in depth in 4 different chapters about it. So you have to wait for that. And that was our Panopto, guys. All right. Hope you enjoyed it.